News of a Chicago Bulls and Detroit Pistons trade had been talked about pretty heavily in the media as well as here on Bulls Digest. But after a season-ending injury for Zach LaVine as he requires surgery, we thought all trade talks were dead. However, it seems like a Pistons trade could still happen, and I'm going to be here to tell you exactly why. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. This is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we get into it there today, I just want to say that about 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure if you aren't subscribed to go down below, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and every single time we upload, you will be notified so you can stay up to date with our takes on your Chicago Bulls. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic there today, and that is trade may still happen. So we talked about a few pieces involved in that, and we talked mainly about it being Bojan Bogdanovic to unload that salary and get away from that guy on the team for the Pistons. They want some younger talent, so Zach LaVine would definitely be younger than Bojan. And also, the Bulls were looking to get some prospects in return, and the Pistons were pretty hesitant about that. But a new trade, as the Bulls seemingly have to take less for LaVine, as we originally thought they'd be able to get, came about. This one actually came up through diehard Chicago Bulls fans who take some tweets from other legitimate media resources. This one right here was Casey Johnson Hoops, and we could see the Bulls and Pistons were discussing a potential trade of Bojan Bogdanovic and Joe Harris's expiring contract for Zach LaVine. The Bulls' motivation would be cap relief, and the deal is still possible if both teams are still motivated. And the reason why I think they both may be motivated is if you're expecting Zach LaVine to be back next season, that could really help the Detroit Pistons in the long run. Maybe they can land some more talent. Maybe Zach LaVine just helps their current roster, and he still is not that old of a player in this league and is still under the age of 30 next season. When we look at Joe Harris taking on that expiring, it's great to get off some of the money of LaVine for the Bulls, who don't seem to need him to win necessarily. And then we take on Bojan as a project for this year. Maybe next year, we'll see how it goes with him. And I think that it would be great for cap relief for the Bulls, who seem like they're a solid team without Zach LaVine there. So try things differently. It's good to shake things up sometimes. We can see when we went to the article on NBC Sports Chicago by Casey Johnson, it said Bulls Zach LaVine to undergo season-ending foot surgery. Two-time All-Star guard will be shut down in advance of NBA Week's NBA trade deadline. So that's exactly where we found this part for the trade with the Pistons. And we can see there it says the news deals a significant blow to the Bulls and LaVine's desire to find him a new home in advance of Thursday's NBA trade deadline. This foot surgery lands on top of LaVine recovering from a left ACL tear in 2017 and subsequent arthroscopic procedure on the same knee in 2022. So that was obviously when we first got LaVine, was a bit of a worry just coming off of that injury. And then when he went down once again with a ACL injury, it wasn't exactly something that was great for Bulls fans to see that happening to a guy that was really flourishing as a great scorer in this league. And it still isn't great that something like that has happened to Zach LaVine. But yeah, another injury is a bit worrisome. But if there's hope on the Pistons side and they're looking to get off those two contracts, I could still see a deal going down very well. The next thing was the Bulls and Pistons had engaged on trade talks centered on LaVine. League sources had previously confirmed. One of the latest iterations, league sources said, focused on Bojan Bogdanovic and Joe Harris, although one source indicated no deal was imminent. It's unknown if draft capital landed in that proposal. So it's kind of pretty up in the air if something like this were to happen. But I do think the possibility of a deal like this is very possible, which is exactly why I wanted to bring it here to you guys. See how you all feel about it and see the possibilities around it. I think it's very possible something like this would happen. We talked recently about a Bam trade yesterday. That was just kind of discussing the odds that the Bulls are leading, and it would be great for them to land him. The possibilities of that happening, in my opinion, are very low, slim to none. But a deal like this is very possible, even with the LaVine injury in full effect right now and him undergoing surgery very soon. Next thing we saw was Joe Harris that I wanted to bring up here. And he's listed as a shooting guard this season. Really more of a small forward. He is only 6'5". 6'6" wingspan. Not that great of an NBA body, so to speak, but it's still a very good shooter. He's only 32 years old. You're really looking at him for the expiring contract, but I really just want to bring it here so you guys can see exactly how he's playing this year, to see if he can even provide any minutes just for this season. And I think maybe he can. His defense, I thought, was much worse than what I saw when I initially looked into this on Crafted NBA, and we can see that his true shooting this year has actually been the worst. His three-point shooting is actually what hasn't been that great this year for Joe Harris, who's known as a three-point sniper when he was on the Brooklyn Nets. We could see the true shooting in the 7th percentile, awful. Shot quality, 28th percentile, not very good. The free throw rate, obviously he's never going to get there. He's always shooting three-pointers. His three-point attempted rate's one of the top in the league at the 96th percentile, and his offensive rebounding is also poor at the 9th percentile. When he tries to create things, though, he's not turning it over very often, but the chances of him trying to create are only the 13th percentile, so you got to take that into account as well. The amount of the load of offense that he carries while he's on the court is only in the 16th percentile, which is also not very high. His portability is low because he's shooting so poor, and his defense is not elite by any means. His passer rating is above average, though, at the 66th percentile. So maybe he could be a guy to kind of make that extra swing to the corner and help out the Bulls in that way if his shooting came around a little bit more. His offense this season has been really, really bad. Offensive plus minus at a 25th percentile, really bad. Deflections, pretty well bad. Again, not very existent there. 22nd percentile in that category in the league. When we look at him causing defensive turnovers, 38th percentile, once again below league average, but defensive rebounding, okay at it, 61st percentile. Better than what I thought it would be out of Joe Harris for sure, but he has played some minutes in power forward in his career, even though he's only about 6'5", so it's understandable for him to be a at least solid rebounder when it comes to the other shooting guards in the league. His rim defense is about as bad as you're ever going to get. It's in the 1st percentile. It's pretty much him and some other name, I'm not sure who it is off the top of my head, that are going to be the worst rim defenders in the league, when the frequency that he goes there is actually pretty high at the 66th percentile. That's pretty poor. His block percentage is below league average. His versatility on defense is really bad at the 30th percentile, and he fouls a good bit as well when he plays defense at the 23rd percentile. But oddly enough, his defensive plus minus is better than his offensive because he struggled so much this season, and it's in the 32nd percentile. Overall, he kind of looks like a guy right now that is like fringe if he should even be in the NBA anymore. But I do think that he needs a new home, and it's just that the system in Detroit is not working for him very well. I still think that he can provide some solid minutes off the bench, maybe 10 or 12 a game for a good team, and shoot the ball really well. I just don't think he's been getting the right looks for him in Detroit, and that team overall is just an absolute dumpster fire so far this season. Hopefully they can turn things around in the near future, just like the Chicago Bulls, who are starting to make a little bit of a playoff push here. They're just outside at the 9th or 10th seed. They were at 9th last time I checked, but I'm not sure with the standings now if since earlier today that it has changed, of course, to the 10th seed. But I do think that there is a good chance that we make the play-in, either we're the 9th or 10th seed. We still have a chance at that there for sure. So I think the play-in is very realistic for the Bulls with the teams below them. I think they can definitely outperform them and continue to do so for the rest of the year. And we'll be keeping a close eye on that here on Bulls Digest. This has been your host, Joey Mercer. Make sure to go ahead and like and comment on the video. Subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell for notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Sign out.